I was chilling at a friend's house as a kid. His dad was the chillest nicest guy. That day, my friend's mom, also super nice, was across the street talking to the neighbor about something that I can longer recall. Neighbor was one of those guys who never respected common etiquette, music blaring, parking his shitty boat in front of other people's house, cars parked on the lawn. The neighbor started screaming at THR mom and we all went out on the stoop to see what was happening. As soon as we got outside, the guy called my friend's mom a cunt. Well, my friend's dad heard that and went full Hulk mode. He ran screaming across the street and just fucking decked the guy and crouched over him shouting warnings and threats. Took a while for his wife to calm him down. I don't think any of them had ever seen him react to something in that way, maybe even the dad himself. Warnings and threats after conking him in the face. This is exactly how villains should be explaining their evil plans. One of my teachers in high school was the calmest dude. Never yelled, never told kids off, would just laugh and smile and wait for us all to calm down and then continue with his teaching. One day we must have been particularly rowdy and we weren't calming down like we usually did. He couldn't get a word in edgeways. I could see him getting increasingly frustrated and eventually he just bellowed "Choo pee 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 pee" and the entire class was shocked into silence. He never had to do it again, LMAO. Reminds me of a Vietnam vet history teacher we had. Everyone would always ask a related question to know he would just go off about for the rest of the period if we didn't feel like going on about whatever today's topic was. Everyone always found out later that he lost 3 of his 4 kids to cancer due to his Agent Orange exposure. I worked as a line cook with a chef who I became really good friends with. Really chill dude, easygoing, and actually super fun to cook with. He taught me most of what I know about cooking, and I owe him a lot for my success. Never really saw him get mad until one day, we were getting slammed during busy night, and one of the servers said something that really ticked him off. Not sure if I ever heard what it was, but next thing I knew he had sent the deep fryer basket flying at Mach 1 across the kitchen, nearly missing the dish kid and shattering a light bulb. He stormed off, and 5 minutes later after a smoke break, came back and casually continued cooking, as if nothing had happened. He apologized about it the next day and we never talked about it again. The restaurant industry is a stressful place. Nearly missing the dish kid. How hard did it hit the dish kid? I used to do seasonal work sorting tax returns. Like 500 people in a warehouse size room sorting through returns, stacking them in boxes, etc. This one guy on my team, huge dude, a gentle giant, really nice. Suddenly one day he smashes the table he's working at, then flips a big box full of paperwork. It flew over my head and 20 feet away. He threw the table out of his way then stormed out. Turns out he was getting his paycheck garnished for something or other. If the garnishment was for back taxes, the irony of the situation would have enraged me too. When I was in my late teens I was financially irresponsible and borrowed money from my grandparents to move out of my mom's house. We made a plan on how I would pay it back in installments and I only missed 2 payments. With each one I called my granddad and asked if it was okay. He was always cool about it. One day I got a call from him and he was livid, screaming at me on the phone and I could hear my grandmother crying in the background. He was the angriest I've ever heard anyone in my life, and I was terrified. He wanted to know why I hadn't made the payment that month, but I was sure I had. It turns out I had accidentally set the automated payment to be drawn from the wrong account, and it hadn't done it. It was an honest mistake on my part, and I explained that to him. I transferred the money immediately, and he instantly calmed down. I later found out he had become an alcoholic after he quit smoking, and he would talk to my grandmother like that regularly when no one was around. Sounds terrifying and a sad situation. Mechanic I work with is getting verbally abused by a customer claiming he ripped him off. Guy's going off saying all sorts of racist shit, then stepped up like he was gonna swing. Henry beat him to the punch, literally. Then he calmly walked to the back office and called the cops on himself. What did the cops do? Arrest Henry for defending himself. I used to see this woman in my building every day. Very friendly. We always checked on each other's lives. We had lunch a few times over the years. It was friendly to a certain degree. A couple years passed. She was much older than me. One day, riding the elevator, she told me that she was saying goodbye. I said I was sorry to see her go and asked why. She said she was retiring that day. I asked if her office was throwing a party or if she was celebrated. She turned to me and her face contorted into an image of rage. She clenched her teeth and said she didn't tell anyone in her office, including her bosses. She only told the hour person last week. This was her last day and she was never returning to see or talk to anyone in her office again. I can understand her. When workplace becomes so unbearable that you don't even want to see the faces again. My 5th grade teacher was a very calm and collected individual, except one time when a kid said her mother was a whore. She lost it. She was screaming about disrespect and stuff and even called her mom, put her on speaker, and asked if she was a whore. In front of the whole class. I miss her mayo. Wait, the teacher called her own mom on speaker to ask if the mom was a W asterisk 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 to prove to the class that she wasn't? My math teacher in middle school. He would even brag about not being angry and how it was a useless emotion. One day this kid pissed him off so bad he swiped all of the kids' asterisk 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 off of the table in front of the whole class and kicked him out. Mine was my high school history teacher. Dude was great, always cool and collected. Really one of the best teachers I've ever had. He also happened to be a former Green Beret, US Army Special Forces. One day we were in class and all us kids were being rowdy, obnoxious, and not paying attention in the least. All it took was him snapping with a "Shut the hell up" asterisk asterisk for the entire room to go silent. He went right back to teaching, but there's still some heavy tension in the air. After a few minutes he apologized for losing his temper, but someone in our group collectively apologized for us and told him it was totally our fault. Only time I've ever seen a room full of teenagers humbled like that. I had a master sergeant at one of my units in the army. Dude was half asleep most of the time. I don't think I ever heard him talk more than once. One day all the guys get called into the large classroom and he's in there looking upset. He launches into a rant about how easy it is to pee into the toilet instead of on the ground in front of it. Dude was passionate about where people pissed. Drew a stick figure diagram all angrily showing how you use one hand to stabilize and aim the pee into the toilet. I had to keep from laughing because he seemed like he was about to blow his lid. TBF, would you want to trust the aim of somebody with a rifle if they can't even hit the toilet? My first semester in college I was in a math class with a horrible teacher. The entire class hated him. The girl that sat in front of me was very sweet and soft spoken. One day, I don't remember what set her off, but she just snapped and started screaming at him. It caused such a commotion that someone called security to check if everything was okay. The teacher quickly dismissed security and went back to teaching like nothing had happened. I've noticed this with people who are aware they're assholes. When people call them out on it / lose their shit, they try to sweep it under the rug, move on as quickly as possible, and pretend nothing happened. My boss does this. I'm very chill, but every once in a while he pushes me over the edge and I tell him off. He often won't even respond or make eye contact and then pretends like it never happened a few minutes later. If they acknowledge it then they'd have to apologize, and that'd hurt their pride too much. Quit the job on the spot. He went out of the office showing the finger to everyone and telling us to go F asterisk 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 ourselves. Nice dude. I miss him. My brother did this at his old job. Our dad had just passed and his boss had said to a coworker, I don't know why he's still caught up about it. It's been 2 weeks, he should be over it by now. When my brother found out, he grabbed a sheet of paper and scribbled "I quit" on it, walked into his boss office, said "fuck you," and left. One time in high school, a couple bullies were up in this other kid's face. Dude was just sitting there like Anton Chigurh or Private Pile, no expression and staring straight ahead, clearly not hearing a thing. One of the bullies inched closer, and the kid decked him as hard as he could in the face. The bully was knocked to the floor, speechless with his nose bleeding everywhere. The kid then calmly stood up, still with no emotion, calmly packed his things, and made his own way to the principal's office, as if nothing at all had happened. It's still one of the most brutal things I've ever seen. It was like right out of a movie. Maybe he was thinking really hard about what one-liner he'd say after knocking that bully down. It takes a lot to make my mom yell. On the rare occasion she did yell, it still felt like she had self-control. Like she yelled on purpose, because there was a reason *to yell. Like she needed to be that loud for us to hear us, or one of the kids needed to learn to never run into traffic again. But one morning, when we were teenagers, my brother was being really difficult. And my very sweet, soft-spoken mother yelled "God damn it Sean," and threw a butter knife down so hard it stuck, *1/4 inch deep, in oak hardwood floor, against the grain. I can still hear the noise it made. We were all very well behaved for the rest of the day. I did eventually ask my mom why she did that. Her explanation was that she felt she was too angry to hold a knife, even a butter knife, and was trying to get it out of her hand before she did something stupid. She was clearly right in her assessment of her mental state. One of my coworkers is a really calm, quiet, easygoing dude. We had a receptionist at the time who was terrible. Would constantly leave the front desk phones unattended. We would have to stop mid-service to answer them ourselves and check people in and out. One day, she pulls her same bullshit. The phones are ringing, people waiting, and she's nowhere to be seen. He just does a big sigh and screams her name in the loudest, angriest, most fed up "I'm fucking done" scream. She scurried her trifling little *** back up to the front in seconds like a little cockroach that knew it fucked up. Lol, I can imagine the rage. Opposite story, but I've seen a very reactive person become completely calm. And that's when I realized things are very bad. My father is very reactive and agitated easily. Doesn't take much to set him off. When our country was going through war, there was a city that had a big strategic importance. In my age he participated in liberating it. In 2020 I remember the night we lost that city. I never seen my father so quiet and calm in my life. And it actually sent chills down my spine more than seeing him agitated ever did. The part that made me scared was I expected him to absolutely lose his shit. Seeing him stressed and upset would bring some consistency to my view of him. But seeing him so quiet was so odd, it was scary. If you don't mind me asking, what's the name of your country? This was probably about 12 years ago or so. My best friend broke up a fight between two of his younger brothers. I was scared shitless. His voice hit a tone I'd never heard up to that point and have never heard since. Our friends dealing with their family hits differently when we have never seen it before. I fear the rage of quiet people because I don't have any reference on how they go mad. Edit. Grammar. Genuine anger was one of the world's greatest creative forces, but you had to learn how to control it. That didn't mean you let it trickle away. It meant you damned it carefully, let it develop a working head, let it drown whole valleys of the mind, and then, just when the whole structure was about to collapse, opened a tiny pipeline at the base and let the iron heart stream of wrath power the turbines of revenge. From Wood Sisters, by Terry Pratchett. My mom and I had a fight about finances, life and everything when the financial crisis of 2008 started to affect us. We were shouting at each other every hurt and everything from birth till that day. Things started to fly. It was carnage. My sister grabbed my mom and pushed her to sit down next to me while scolding us about our behavior. Then she slapped both of us on the face, so we were totally stunned and shut up. Then she went on talking about how we a family should keep it together in dire times instead of fighting each other. Did your family keep it together? Hope that slap helped. Worked with a guy at scout camp who was in charge of the archery range. Super quiet and reserved guy, very nice and down to earth. One day we had a scout draw his bow and point it at one of his friends as a joke. I've never seen a kid get the fear of God put in him so fast after my friend ripped him apart for that. Firearms are no joke. That's the way. When I did my mandatory military service, we were warned in no uncertain words that if any of us would ever point a weapon at another person on the shooting range, that the instructors would be very ungentle about handling the situation. From what I've heard, that wasn't a bluff. Great guy, Ed the forklift driver. He tried Chantix to quit smoking. We worked in a warehouse with assembly lines packaging refrigerator components under Whirlpool/Maytag contracts. It was a pretty stressful job at times. One day we were packaging an order and we ran out of a shelf due to poor communication, so the assembly line had to stop. It absolutely snapped. He took off on his forklift to get the shelves. When he came back with the shelves on his left, he drove through the spider area, where forklifts aren't allowed, slamming through thousands of components, and running his forklift directly into the assembly conveyor belt, destroying the entire operation. Bodies went flying. He threw it in reverse, and slammed backward into containers, stacked all the way to the ceiling, causing hundreds of metal/glass fridge shelves to come raining down. It was terrifying, and he nearly killed 8 of us working on the line. Great guy though. There was a girl in my grade in high school, and she was super quiet and shy. Very often when we were in a group chatting, she would be quiet, and if you turned to her and asked for her opinion, she would put her hands over her mouth, giggle nervously, and take a few steps back. Her mom was also kind of creepy, and would follow her fucking everywhere. The first week of every month she would follow the girl to school and walk around the hallways during class, bored, and then the rest of the month stay outside of school at a cafe or the rec center, waiting for her daughter. When we would hang out, the mom would follow us from a little distance away. There were rumors that she was kidnapped as a child, so that's why they were like that, lol. One day, I saw her and her family at the dollar store, so I started walking over to her to say hi, and suddenly, she started screaming at her mother. It looked like her mom asked her to translate the packaging and then didn't believe her translation was right because she was screaming. Fine. Don't believe me then. It scared the out of me, lol. That poor girl. That's abuse. My middle school homeroom teacher was amazing. She was a science teacher and had a chameleon in a huge wall-sized cage. It was like 8 feet long, 3 deep, and 6 tall. It had branches for climbing, water, tunnels, just a complete perfect environment. One day before school started, she walked into her classroom while some kids were poking the chameleon with meter sticks, and she went to 11. I got why the hair floating trope is a thing that day, because she just physically radiated anger. She dragged them to the office then. When she came back, she told us to hang out or play science hockey until first period while she went to cool down in the science office. If Ms. Frizzle got angry,